You're listening to Synergy to Synastry, the podcast where two corporate girlies called to follow their intuition take you on a journey of self-exploration through metaphysical modalities.
I'm Christine, intuitive coach and clairvoyant.
And I'm Renee, psychic intuitive and astrologer.
We're excited that you're here and honored to be your spiritual guides. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. It helps listeners find our show, plus it automatically enters you into our raffles to win a free psychic reading.
Now, let's get into the episode.
Welcome to this bonus episode of Synergy to Synastry. We're going to take you behind the scenes of recording this podcast, where you'll hear nothing but tangents.
If you're looking for free-flowing conversation that's light on content, then these episodes are for you. We gab about metaphysical modalities, current events, TV shows we're watching, and even bring on special guests.
Settle in.
Because we're coming at you
live from the void.
We have breaking news. Actually, it's a month old when you're hearing this, but for us, it's breaking news.
Yes. Taylor Swift officially owns her full discography and all of her unreleased tracks. If you have no idea what we're talking about, don't worry. We discussed this more in our Void conversation, but we had to jump in and make some updates.
Some of what you're about to hear includes discussions of Taylor's re-records, in other words, her Taylor's versions. And we now know that she had a very fortunate change of plans in that department and doesn't need to record the remaining two albums. She did report in a letter released on May 30th, debut TV, so her self-titled Taylor Swift album, is actually done and recorded, so she could release that at any point in time. Rep TV, which people were clowning about expecting was going to drop at any point, she also revealed that it's been a thorn in her side and she's been stopping and starting the recording process and isn't even close to being done with it.
Yeah, so with this new information, some of the theories Renee reported on from the hardcore Swiftie corners of the interwebs are now officially debunked. We really enjoyed this Void episode, though, and still wanted to share it.
At the end of the episode, you're going to hear us, from the present, jumping back in to share reflections on the bulk of the episode, as well as more on the breaking news, so keep listening for that.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like we should dive back into the void, don't you? Apologies to the listener for my tone deafness, but we kind of had to.
In answer to your question, yes, we should head back into the void, diving like Taylor into the abyss of the Eras Tour stage. So listener, we'll see you on the other side.
Today is May 1st. It is May Day. It is Callan Mai. It is Beltane. And for all the millennials listening, it's gonna be May. Renee, I saw a meme today. It says, I would like to petition, instead of it's gonna be May, we move it to this. You were looking at May. What do you think about that?
That song, for anyone who's not familiar, is Out of the Woods, which is from Taylor Swift's album, 1989. A great song. A jam. I'm assuming that clip was from the Eras Tour, probably.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, it could have been an old one. It could have been from her 1989 tour, but it makes more sense.
Fair.
No, I do think that that's a good idea. I'm surprised I haven't heard it until now. Maybe it's the next generation's version. Because if they don't have one.
Yeah.
I saw this video online today, and it was like a boomer, like, oh, wow, the time flew. I can't believe April's done. And then Gen X says, oh, yeah, it's almost Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Gen Z was like, oh, what's that sound? And then it's the millennial off in the other room doing It's Gonna Be May. Technically, there's room here for Gen Z to adopt Taylor Swift as their thing for May.
I support this as an elder to Gen Z. If this is what they want to do, go for it, kids.
On this topic, as you may have guessed, we are going to be discussing, live from the void, Taylor Swift today. An icon, songwriter,
American royalty, don't forget.
American royalty with Travis. We have discussed her in a few previous episodes in passing. We're going to just chat about a few different things. I did a little research on some of her music. Some of it I knew off the cuff, but I was looking around for connections with topics that we discuss on Synergy to Synastry.
And I have done no research, just vibes, is what I'm bringing to the podcast today.
Why don't we set the foundation for how we first got introduced to Taylor?
My Swiftie era did not begin until, I would say, really 2024. There were inklings of it coming, right? Blank Space came out, Lover, all those goody songs. But it wasn't until I was going through a rough breakup and the Tortured Poets Department came out that again, she is my queen, she is my royalty. That's when I became dedicated to Taylor Swift. She came out around 2006, 2007 timeframe. I was a college student from Staten Island who aggressively listened to house music and pretty much nothing else. Maybe some pop here and there, freestyle, a couple of 80s hits would make it in. No country whatsoever. I still really don't listen to country. The genre just doesn't resonate for me, but that's the genre she came out in. So I was like, I can't relate. I cannot relate. And I feel like as she grew and as her music changed and as I grew and needed more music with depth to it rather than just like a tune to dance to, our paths started to converge. So I remember Blank Space specifically because I was, again, in a relationship that was like a little tumultuous. And I was like, am I crazy? Is he crazy? Are we both crazy together? So then I would listen to a couple of her songs as they came out. She just resonated. So I started following her, I would say, more as like a personality rather than for her music. I really resonated with everything about her as a person. Turns out her human design, she's a 5/1 projector. And I, too, am a 5/1 projector. So I think that's where we line up. And we can get into that a little bit later. But anyway, any person who's gone through a rough breakup listening, The Smallest Man, that song, you know what I'm talking about. Renee, tell me what it was like to be there from the beginning.
Yeah, so my introduction to Taylor, I was in middle school. I also still don't listen to country music. She, even at the time, was out of genre for me. I didn't even really listen to her full album, but I became aware of her because of Teardrops on My Guitar. That was her first song. And that got a lot of radio play. And then I remember looking her up on YouTube and watching some of her other music videos. And even though they were more in the country style, like Our Song or Picture to Burn, I actually really like these songs. And I remember seeing her perform Should Have Said No on some sort of award show. By that point, I already kind of liked her. And I remember watching it and going, oh, well, her live singing isn't really that good. Like I was like a little bit disappointed. I wanted her to be better. That being said, in the last approximately a little over 20 years, she has vastly improved because she heard that feedback and she needed to do more vocal training because she really started out as a songwriter as a young teenager. She was writing for other people and then was writing for herself and then started launching her own career at such a young age. Admittedly, there are some eras in the last handful of years where I got really into podcasts. So I pretty much dropped off listening to all new music. Probably the first fatality was the Lover album. I definitely know a lot of songs on there, but there's a good chunk of them that I really don't know them. And I haven't listened to that album a ton. I got back in with Folklore. Oh, love that album. I know the songs on there. Fell back out again with Evermore, but I've since listened to some of those songs. Like I love the song Evermore. I've listened to that one a bajillion times. Not totally in on Midnights either. And it's not for lack of liking the songs. It's just my headspace and what I was doing. I was like, I don't really have time to just sit and listen to these songs like on repeat like I used to, because I was always listening to a podcast or an audiobook or just doing something else I needed to concentrate. And so I wasn't really like listening. And then same thing with Tortured Poet. So I definitely listened to that, but not at the caliber that like I used to listen to her albums. But if I'm in the car, I'm probably more likely to put on Taylor Swift than most other artists. Put her on shuffle or go on a certain album and like listen to that, or cherry pick a certain song and listen to it on repeat the entire ride. My sister and I got tickets to go to Loverfest, which was her stadium tour, and it ended up getting canceled because of COVID. We thought it would help us get tickets to the Eras tour, that they would honor those, and that didn't happen. And we weren't able to get tickets, and we didn't like keep trying. We just tried the one time and then whatever. For anyone who's unfamiliar with the Eras tour, one of the most, if not the most successful tours of all time. The Eras tour was 5 legs, and it ran from March 2023 to December 2024. The original version of that tour was filmed and turned into a concert film that then came out fall 2023. During this time period, April 2024, she released the Tortured Poets Department, and then came back into another leg and had redone a huge chunk of the show, which was so exciting to watch, because when do we ever see an artist do that? Like switch up the set list, switch up the costumes. And that's really a big thing. So for anyone that's not familiar with Swiftie culture, I consider myself a longtime fan, but then there's being a like hardcore Swiftie. You have all of the merch. You've seen her on tour 5 times. You have a mastermind account where people were predicting every single outfit that she was going to wear for every era. Oh, she's going to wear for 1989 the blue top and a yellow skirt. You could get a score on it. They'd be analyzing. She hasn't worn this color combination for 6 weeks. We think that that's going to be an Easter egg, that she's going to do a Reputation song because that's the 6th album. And so then maybe she's going to release Rep TV, or maybe she's going to do it at. So people really went all in. So I consumed some of this content for sure during the tour. Also for the acoustic set. At the end of the concert, she would pick a couple songs and she would play them on the piano or her guitar without the band and accompaniment. Sometimes she would do mashups, which she started increasingly doing in one of the last legs. They were like always mashups and medleys. But the song choices, like, oh, this is the 4th album and it's the 13th song and 1 + 3 is blah, blah. And it's like people would do all of this Swiftie math. Point being, it gets very, very involved if you are all in. I consider myself a supporter, advocate, and observer, but I don't participate to that depth because I don't have the time.
It's so funny because I was just talking to someone who was Jewish yesterday. He's like, we're Reform. It sounds like you're a Reform Swiftie. I am dabbling in Swiftiness. I went to Italy with my cousin and my family July of 24. And when we were planning our trip, I texted my cousin and I said, Taylor's going to be playing in Milan, a Milano. While we're there, do you want to like take the train up to Milan and go see her? And she's like, oh, I can't. My daughters would be so upset if I went without them. And I was like, that sucks. But I didn't think anything of it. And now I look back and I'm like, that I think is one of the regrets of my lifetime.
I will just say here, I'm so glad for Taylor to be taking a vacation. She was doing this tour for such a long time. This is like a 3.5-hour show, 2 shows a weekend. Plus, at some points, she was flying back and forth, going to Travis's games, or, obviously he would go and see her. So that was another big thing that came up, is they started dating during the Eras tour, which we mentioned in the String Theory episode. He had brought a friendship bracelet, which is a thing that emerged from one of her songs from the Lover album. It kind of blew up and became a symbol for this Eras tour. She had a breakup. That life experience was used to write Tortured Poets Department, which came out later. She and Travis then started dating, and then there was a couple songs about him that made it into that album as well.
Oh my God, yes. I can't even put words to it. I just feel like as humans, right, we're here in this life to like experience feelings and tastes and like all these things in the world, right, that you don't experience as a soul in another plane. And as shitty as a breakup is, it is exhilarating to have a Taylor Swift album to accompany your breakup. I have never felt deeper feelings. She says, "Were you sent by someone who wanted me dead?" How could somebody hurt you so much that was supposed to love you? They must have wanted you dead. I don't know where she comes up with this, but it's so good. Okay, I'm pulling up Invisible String by Taylor.
On the Folklore album. Watching Christine dance in her chair as she listens to Invisible String.
I just want to say she's a really good person. She was like, about her for ex-boyfriends, and now she sends their babies presents. I cut people off. You are dead to me. I will never send your baby a present. I will wish you ill, but no, thank you. Okay, sorry. I think I got what I needed to get out of this. That is red string theory. We don't really need to worry. We're going to meet who we're supposed to meet when we meet them. Even when you're going through a difficult time. Going back to Tortured Poets Department, that album was about really difficult times. And then you have these glimmers of beautiful songs about Travis that just make my heart explode.
If you like either a good breakup song or a good love song, she has plenty of those very deep throughout her catalog in every era.
I also really quick want to give a shout out to all of the eldest daughters out there. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart is our anthem. And I have questioned other people about this and they all agree. So here's to us. Sorry, Renee, that doesn't include you, but enjoy not being an eldest daughter. It's a rough ride. Okay.
Specifically eldest daughter, not just eldest child.
Yeah, eldest daughter as a whole. Because you're expected to care for everyone. Eldest son, it's different.
We can use that as a nice transition point into talking about how Taylor Swift relates to topics of this podcast. I just want to note this here. The human design and astrology that we are talking about today for Taylor has not been 100% verified. There are some proposed charts that are available based on a specific birth time according to this birth standard. Do you want to start with her human design?
Yes. Taylor's a 5-1 projector. Now, every time I hear that she's a projector, I think about how she performed in Tokyo, made it to the Super Bowl for Travis, and then helped Travis win the Super Bowl. Projectors, our energy ebbs and flows, and Renee always laughs because I'm like, I'm useless, I'm a projector. And you're like, no, you're not. We're here for our ideas. We're not here for how much we can do. Sometimes I feel like I just can't keep up. So I feel like she is living in alignment and she's taking a vacation right now. We haven't heard from her. Maybe that's the answer, right? When you need a vacation, you just take the vacation. Projectors are here in this life. You're meant to be a leader, a guide, and I 100% think she is doing that. Even just by existing and doing things in her own way, she's attracting the people who are attracted to her and want to hear what she has to say. She has a lot of really good messages. I think she's a great role model too for young women. Her throat center is open. I also have an open throat center. I just want to put that out there. When you have an open center, you're open to things just dropping in, or you're more easily influenced. You allow yourself to explore more ideas. Whereas when a center is defined, you know who you are, it's fixed. Sometimes you don't really plan what you're going to say. You just wait for it to come and what you say resonates. And I feel like she really does listen to that. She doesn't really plan what she's going to say, but she goes through these experiences and then all of a sudden she has something to say and she lets it out.
She is also known, with regard to the Easter eggs, to be very, very strategic. She will plant specific things that she wants to say in an interview or an outfit that she's going to wear and her style over the course of a period of time to act as Easter eggs for an album that's going to come out in 2 years.
And I wonder if that comes from her projector type where she's meant to lead, she's meant to guide. So she's like, oh, let me put this here to guide these people to what's coming next. She has a defined ego. I also have a defined ego.
What are you, Taylor Swift or something?
I mean, I could be. I'm tone deaf. I would have to be Taylor Swift at a different medium. She has like strong willpower and like motivation to make her dreams happen. And I can certainly attest to that. The amount of willpower we have to get something done is insane. And maybe that answers my question as to how she performed in Tokyo and then won the Super Bowl. Those are two big things. Because I will say my willpower does drive me sometimes. As her identity center is open, guess who else's identity center is open?
You.
It's me.
I'm the human design twin with Taylor Swift. It's me.
It's me. Hi, I'm the human design twin. Which means that how you express yourself is always changing and it can be impacted by who she's talking to or what she's experiencing or what she's gone through. Hello. When we jump into astrology, you can tell me if this is true, but I also associate this for me with my stellium in the 8th house. I just feel like there's a lot of death and rebirth in my identity. And maybe that's because my sun is in the 8th house, not so much the stellium. Tell me about her astrology, though. I need to know where we line up.
She is a Sagittarius sun. This is very well known. She talks about this, and I will cite some examples of imagery that she has related to Sagittarius in her songs. She is a Cancer moon. That's in her 7th house with the Capricorn rising, which was the most common chart. I was also seeing a chart where she was a Scorpio rising, and there I think it was in the moon was in the 8th house.
The moon in the 7th with the Capricorn rising, to me, makes so much sense. Think about her emotions coming from her relationships and all that work ethic with the Capricorn rising. Okay, I'm going to let the expert do it. I'm just really excited about this. Also, guess who else is a Capricorn rising?
You.
It's me. Okay, sorry, continue.
Which probably makes sense with human design because it does borrow from astrology, so it could be that some of it's representing in that way. I have several songs here. I'm just going to rattle some examples off. This is not an all-inclusive list, but just some examples that I knew off the cuff and that I searched for and found. She has her song The Archer off of the Lover album. Naturally, all the imagery there is matching with the centaur for Sagittarius. It has the arrow. It is an archer. She has her song Karma, which was off of the Midnights album. Quote, love you to the moon and to Saturn. So she has some planetary imagery that comes in. Saturn is considered a planet representing karma as well. In her song Red, off of the Red album, quote, just twin fire signs, 4 blue eyes. She is a Sagittarius sun, which is a fire sign. The guy that she was with, presumably also a fire sign. That album came out in 2012 or 13. She has been planting these different references to astrology, and I have 2 more, but go ahead.
Since she's a Capricorn rising, is Saturn also her chart ruler?
It would be one of the chart rulers. I would have to look and calculate, but she has a Capricorn stellium, so it's also likely that it is her only chart ruler.
Interesting. Saturn's also my chart ruler.
I am Taylor Allison Swift. The bonus track Suburban Legends off of the 1989 Taylor's version, which came out in the last couple years. The quote there is, I had a fantasy that maybe our mismatched star signs would surprise the whole school. A reference to compatibility based on astrology. Also off of the Midnights album, the song Mastermind, which she featured prominently in the Eras Tour set. Once upon a time, the planets and the fates and all the stars aligned. And there also have been a lot of recent Easter eggs around stars in cardigans that she's been releasing for each of the eras, Instagram posts and other imagery. So there is a running theory out there that TS12, her 12th album, will have some sort of cosmic theme to it. Remains to be seen. We don't know now because there's no word on her next album, but documenting that, this is something that has been a topic of discussion for quite some time now. She has been doing her Taylor's version re-records of her albums because she's trying to make sure that she has ownership over her full discography. And one of the most long-awaited album re-records is her Reputation album, which is her 6th album. One of the long-standing theories is that she will drop it this year because in Chinese astrology, it is the year of the snake. Snakes are heavily featured in that Reputation era because there was a whole feud with Kim Kardashian and Kanye and people calling Taylor a snake. So when that album came out, she leaned into that and embraced the imagery of snakes. It's in a bunch of different music videos. It was in her outfit for Reputation on the Eras tour. It would be great for it to come out this year because how perfect, what divine timing.
I'm so obsessed. And I love that she's into all this stuff.
On the 1989 Taylor's version, she had some new songs on it. This is the one for people who are curious, heavily about her relationship with Harry Styles. Love him. It was even more confirmed when she released Taylor's version and she dropped more songs that didn't make it to the original album. And you were hearing those going, oh my gosh, confirmed these original songs definitely are about Harry because you had more details discussing the shape of their relationship. And there was one song that became a hit. It was a TikTok dance. Is it over now? It involves something that is referred to as the whisper method, which is a manifestation technique. Of course, on this season, episode 3, we were talking about planning versus manifesting. If you want to learn the proper way to do this method for your own manifesting, check out the show notes because I have more of a legitimate resource that is outlining tips and tricks, how to do it, best practices. And ultimately, it involves whispering your desire with intention and infusing it with high vibrational energy, namely joy, love, and gratitude. It's really supposed to be very positive. Instead of shouting to the universe, you're whispering to the universe, but it's very, very passionate. I don't have TikTok, but I heard about it through the grapevine that people were using the whisper method in what I consider an unsanctioned way by going into a visualization practice where you visualize your crush, somebody that you're in a situationship with, or someone that you're dating, and you visualize them falling asleep and you walking up to them and whispering in their ear. Some sort of an action that you're trying to get them to talk to you or engage with you or fall in love with you. Taylor, in this song, describes that. She doesn't describe the original whisper method. She describes this. Come here, I whisper in your ear in your dreams as you passed out. So essentially, she's imagining him falling asleep and whispering in his ear, and the command is come here, as in like go to her, talk to her, connect with her.
I think it's bad energetic hygiene to impose your energy on someone else.
Agreed.
So one of the things that I do when I'm walking around New York City, there's a lot of displaced people that you come across, and you can't buy a meal for everyone. You just, as one person, you can't do it all. I will ask their soul or their energy if they're okay receiving a golden sun and just give them some of their energy back or send them some love. But I always check with their soul first. Obviously, mentally, I don't go up and ask these people because safety reasons. But even in that instance, I'm energetically aware. I would never, ever imagine love potioning someone.
I know.
Think about all the work that you have to do just to make that person do what you want. That's a lot to maintain. Do you really want that? And maybe that's the projector in me, but I don't have the energy for that.
It almost goes back to our conversation with Christian. If you're trying to make someone fall in love with you, well, maybe this isn't a good person for you, and you're not either giving them an opportunity to show that or to validate your own sense of self-worth by saying, okay, I want someone who is actively pursuing me or expresses that they want a serious commitment with me because that's what I want with them. There's fate and there's free will and there's an intersection and maybe there's a path, there's an arc that your energies could move, but you have so much free will and choice. And if our journey in this lifetime, in any lifetime, is our personal development and our growth, self-actualization, then that's plenty of work for us to do by ourselves without trying to pull the strings of other people to marionette them into doing something.
100%.
For those who view Taylor as just writing about love songs, breakup songs, and her relationships, this is not true. She has so many songs in her discography that are either about other people's love stories or they're not about love at all. They're about different concepts, their commentary on society. If Torture Post Department has shown anything, I think as well on Folklore and Evermore, she really was working these chops. But this is someone who is very well read. She infuses literary references, really, really good SAT vocab words. And she's been doing this for a long time. So people, I don't think, always give her enough credit for how smart her songwriting is. Cassandra, this is named after a woman in Greek mythology. And the story of Cassandra is that she had intuitive gifts of premonition. She was cursed, so no one would believe her premonitions. She had a premonition that Paris would go to Sparta, bring back Helen of Troy, and it would start that Battle of Troy. He did not listen to her. No one listened to her. He ended up doing that. Battle of Troy happens, and then she ends up dying as a result of that war. When this song came out, Taylor was releasing a bunch of different voice notes for her tracks, and she was specifically calling out the fact that this is referencing Greek mythology, current events, and climate change. However, if you really go into the lyrics, you can see how it relates to her as an individual, even in the Reputation era that I was talking about. People were not believing her and the things that she was saying. So they killed Cassandra first because she feared the worst and tried to tell the town. So they filled my cell with snakes, and I regret to say, do you believe me now?
I'm obsessed with that song. And I didn't even know it was about Cassandra. I actually thought it was about the Salem witch trials.
They did mention burning somebody in this song as well, burning witches.
Yes, and I also think it's interesting because it also calls to people don't want to hear negative things. If you're saying like, hey, if we keep doing this, something bad's going to happen, people kind of don't want to hear it. And instead of looking at themselves, they get mad they kill the messenger, basically. She's so smart. This is so good. And I hate people who say that she only sings about her ex-boyfriends or whatever, which A, why shouldn't she? But B, she's so intelligent. If anyone took the time to like sit and listen to her lyrics, and you know what? Going back to Cassandra, maybe that's what it is. Maybe she is so intelligent. Not everyone wants us to know that she is that intelligent. Now I'm creating conspiracy theories.
There are legitimate courses that you can take at universities. They are analyzing her song lyrics. She's increasingly going in this direction where the writing is even more complex and has more references in it. So there's a lot that you can pick apart. All right. Any final thoughts on Taylor as we wrap up?
I think the listeners should know I don't have any friendship bracelets. So if they want to send us some, please.
Oh my gosh. A Synergy to Synastry friendship bracelet.
We can do a little exchange.
Oh.
There's a Michael's by me. I will go to the craft store. Say less.
Are you feeling more inspired to go back in the archive?
Yes and no. Like, I love these little Easter eggs, and then I also get overwhelmed. Like, when you were talking about the mastermind, this is what I don't understand about people who follow sports as well. Like, they can watch ESPN all day, every day. Even like baseball, there's like 140 games a year, and how many teams? How do you have the brain capacity to hold on to all of that information and then make predictions? Like, I just feel like there's other things going on that I can't
Yes.
do it. I keep thinking about this in terms of like Judaism. I will never be a Hasidic Swiftie. I could be a Reform Swiftie, if that helps.
Yeah. We're back from the future, but still your past. Christine, let's put a button on this void conversation by sharing our thoughts on the news of Taylor reclaiming her masters. As this news dropped, it felt like the internet was exploding. I happened to see it, somebody posting about it on Blue Sky. The post was like 20 seconds old. And at the same time, I received a text from someone like, did you see the Taylor news? We all happened to be online when Taylor posted on Instagram herself holding a bunch of her album covers. And then the description was link in bio, and that's it. And on her website, she had a letter that she wrote, which she does. It was quite long and hard to read. If you know, you know. She summarized her excitement, her relief at all of these conversations she was having with Shamrock Records. getting to the point where she was able to purchase her masters back. The reported number that I heard was somewhere over 300 million to get the catalog. A couple weeks prior to this happening, there was a report that Shamrock was valuing it at over 600 million. So people were hearing that going, okay, that's more than what they bought it for. And if she were to buy it, doesn't that not make any sense? Like, does it make them more valuable because of the scarcity? There's less albums left, but shouldn't it devalue them inherently by her re-recording all the albums? So then this newer number, which was basically half of that, makes a lot more sense. And for Taylor, obviously it's worth it because she can stop that re-record process, which she's dedicated several years of her life to. With Reputation, it's hard because that is one of my favorite albums. I have listened to some of the songs, but then I kind of feel bad about it. But now, because it's been reclaimed, you can really listen to whatever you want guilt-free. So that was one of the biggest things that was coming out of it. People saying, what was the first song that you played the second you saw the news? Because for some people, her re-records, they might like them more, but there were some that maybe they don't like as much because the production on it inherently had to be different. Her voice sounds different. She's not as emotionally attached to it because it's not as raw from the time when she was in those lived experiences.
All of us can relate to this, where you've gone through such a difficult experience, and when you come out of it, you're such a different person. You can't even bring yourself to go back there. Sometimes I feel like that's just our bodies being like, we're not supposed to do this. I love her for listening to that. And I also, little finance girl I am, love the free market negotiation that happened with the price of her records. I'm happy for her. I still feel like Shamrock overcharged her, but
she was glowing. I love them so much. If I were to get a tattoo, I'd get a Shamrock on my forehead. Shamrock is not the party to blame here. It's Scooter.
Fair. I just don't know like how they came up with that number, 600 million. For starters, like to me, that was just like a joke of a number.
Well, I don't know if that was an outside source reporting that and not like coming from them. Right. What we were then hearing in other reporting, apparently it was in the 300. There's some things with the financial stuff that's going to be private. People were looking at the picture that Taylor posted. The data attached to it said that the picture had been taken in March. That means that 2 months prior to this news dropping, this was already in progress. On this other podcast, Every Single Album, which again, I'll link in the show notes, he was saying this type of a negotiation, it's more likely that it would take 6 months if you're being fast. 2 is like totally unreasonable. And that puts us back in November or December, which is at the tail end of the Eras Tour. She could have been starting some discussions with them or having her team talk with them while she was still on tour, and then been able to dedicate more time in this break when she's been quiet. Some data here. Taylor Swift becomes the first artist in history to have every album in her discography, both the originals and the re-recordings, simultaneously featured in the US iTunes Top 100 chart. I think Reputation and Debut shot to like the top 3 within a couple hours of this news dropping.
Again, I love her fans that were just so patient. They were like, you know what? We're going to forego listening to this for your benefit because we love you so much. So Scooter Braun is on my list. I will not put Shamrock on my list, and I will not take it personally, the rumors that we heard about the pricing. So that's okay.
Discussions around her difficulty in recording Reputation. For anyone familiar with the album, it captures the beginning of her romance with Joe Alwyn. He is one of the individuals talked about in the Tortured Poets Department album because this was a really significant portion of her life. She spent 6 some odd years with him, wrote many songs about him, wrote some songs with him. He got credited under a pseudonym on a couple albums later on. And as more of these albums have come out, you start piecing them together and realizing, oh gosh, like there were so many cracks and issues in this relationship. There's been a lot of content. Some of it's pretty funny. It'll be a video of someone pretending to be Taylor trying to record a love song about him on Reputation. She just will stop and say, never mind, I'm just going to pay $300 million because it's like she can't do it. For anyone who doesn't know Swiftie history, Reputation was a big deal for a lot of reasons. One of them being she didn't get any Grammy nominations for it. In this documentary where she was finding out that she didn't get any nominations for Reputation, She's sitting there crying, and she says, I just need to make a better record. So her immediate response was, I guess it just wasn't good enough. And she's pushing herself to do more. The evolution of her as an individual is so amazing because in this letter that she released this year, what she said was, it's the one album in those first 6 that I thought couldn't be improved upon by redoing it.
She's a true artist. And I just think of all the art that exists that like didn't become famous until after an artist passes away. Sometimes you're just ahead of your time.
Anybody who watches the Eras Tour movie, I have always heard from people saying, oh my gosh, Reputation, that's like the best part. I think it's getting a lot of its flowers now as a delayed reaction. I, of course, liked it the second it came out, and I was always listening to it, but not everyone felt that way because it was a really hard turn in the style of music that she was doing.
I guess to all the creatives out there or business owners or anybody doing something different, if you create something right now and it's not successful in this present moment, don't give up. It just might not be the time for it just yet. Look at me, all inspirational.
Speaking of inspirational, I wanted to point out when Taylor announced she was going to do these re-records, everyone was trying to predict what the order was going to be and looking for Easter eggs in her music videos. For a long time, people have been saying, oh, it'd be so epic for her to end with Reputation and Debut, which is what she has done, simply for the fact that she would be reclaiming her name and her reputation and the symbolism of that. Christine's gagged.
It just speaks to like letting everything happen when it's supposed to happen. I mean, going back to our quantum theory and string theory and all the things, everything's going to happen when it's supposed to happen, and it may seem out of order for you and it may seem wrong, but if we ever needed a comeback story, this is it. She is going into my folklore, if you will, of inspirational stories.
So somebody said she ended the war with her name and reputation untouched and intact. It would have been poetic enough for her to have those be the last things that she reclaims. Now she doesn't even need to reclaim them. And even just thinking about her reputation, the journey of that album and where she was at the time in her life when that album came out, part of her narrative arc in her entire life is around how people are perceiving her and what they're saying about her and how they're critiquing her. Her process of individuating and finding herself, regardless of what people say. Being able to now walk away and not actually have to reclaim either of those is also awesome.
I love it. I love it so much. I do go back to thinking about her human design, and I think she was a splenic projector, 5-1 splenic projector. People with a splenic authority really need to trust their intuition. And the 5, people place upon you visions of who they think you are. You could tell them, like, I'm 5'2", and they're like, no, you're 5'5". And you're like, I don't understand. Like, that to me, like, really describes the 5. And I feel like that's her, especially during this journey. Like, people were just placing on her all of these ideas that they had, when in reality, like, she's finally reclaiming who she is now. Please tell me the astrology, because I'm like, there has to have been something going on during these times.
It took me a couple hours because I was so swept up in the news and I was all excited and doing a bunch of, other stuff that day. But then all of a sudden it clicked into my brain. Is this not perfect? Because May 30th, 2025, there was a Mercury cazimi. For anyone who has no idea what I'm talking about, that means the planet Mercury, which is a messenger planet, it's associated with our thoughts, our speech, writing, communication, travel, technology. And a cazimi is when a planet conjoins, so it's at the same degree point in the sky as the sun. And Mercury cazimis in particular have a reputation for being really great days to announce something, to publish something. I recorded a class for my Insight Timer, and in it, I told the students, it's, if you want to announce something, you want to release something, that's great. Or maybe you don't do anything, but there's a huge announcement that day. And that is Taylor. So whether this was intentional or not, we know that she has some interest in astrology. But it happened after the cazimi went exact. This was the day to announce.
I do wonder if she has an astrologer that she works with. I don't know if anybody knows this quote, but I stand by it. JP Morgan, the famous financier, always said, millionaires don't have an astrologer, but billionaires do. Again, the more that I enter this world, the more I'm like, how does she know?
I
How does she
know.
know?
I know. And so looking at her chart, where did this Kazemi actually happen? What's it activating? According to that Capricorn rising chart that we discussed in this episode, Gemini, which is where the Kazemi occurred, is in her 6th house. And the 6th house represents health, as in physical health. So kind of your well-being, your work, not as in your career. It's about her service. It's what she's contributing, what she's putting into the world. It's about her dedication, her work ethic. And that is totally spot on because she's reclaiming something. She's announcing something about her life's work. That was the language that she was using. And that is totally 6th house.
So I feel like to tie a bow on it, where do we go now?
The letter that she shared, it had a different header on the top. So everyone's looking at that going, oh my gosh. And how I mentioned in this Void episode, there being Easter eggs about stars. The aesthetic appears to be some sort of like roaring 20s / cosmic or starry based. People are also wondering, and I'm wondering, her last leg of the Eras tour when she added Torture Pose Department. Excuse me, where's the footage? I want to see a docu-series. I am waiting for her to release something, and she can stay on vacation. Clearly, she's not going to stop working.
She's Capricorn rising. We don't know how.
Yeah, it's like, but she doesn't have to be out on tour. She doesn't have to necessarily put out a new album. She could buy more time here by releasing debut TV, releasing docu-series or another cut of the concert movie. I personally think a docu-series would be way more interesting because there's so many nuances. You can talk about the commentary of the culture and the Easter eggs and all this other stuff. I kind of hope that for her, that she can just kind of chill and be happy and she doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. So it's like, just release the content we know that you have. And then when you want to write something and release it. But people that are like, oh my gosh, we need new Taylor. It's like, okay, can we relax? She ended her tour like 6 months ago. Come on.
Yeah, guys, like, let's let the girl breathe for a bit. I'm so excited for her. I feel like this is the end of an era, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I like can't wait to see what comes for her. I almost feel like she's free now, or like she went through like a big Saturn.
I was
period.
just thinking that Saturn
Right?
was in her Capricorn rising, and now with it moving, oh my gosh, Christine! Pluto left Capricorn in November, which lines up with the 6 months.
Why didn't I think of this?
Oh my gosh. So it's like the second it moved into, oh my gosh, it means it would be moving into her 2nd house.
I know what you're thinking.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Okay,
This
for
is
anyone
so
who doesn't
exciting.
know why we're so excited, the 2nd house in your chart has to do with your money, how you earn money, your sense of self-worth. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. So she's having a rebirth and transformation. It's finally out of 1st house, which is identity, power dynamics related to her identity, having to continue to reinvent herself over and over again. Is this not her life story? It's been in Capricorn for a significant chunk of her career.
I'm so excited for her. It's also been in Capricorn for a significant chunk of my career.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why she's part of my folklore is because I want to learn from her or like see where my life is going as her life is going. So all you Capricorn risings out there, I'm excited for all of us. I mean, including our leader, our Lord and Savior, Taylor Swift. But
more to come. There's probably going to be a lot of news for Taylor this year. I doubt she's going to retreat quietly for the rest of 2025. Even though we had to make an addendum to this episode in the weeks before it actually came out, because there's always something new going on with her, I'm glad that we still had this conversation because she's just a really fascinating person. Someone going down in history. She's already in the history books for so many reasons, and we got to live in the Taylor Swift timeline.
How blessed are we? Also, listeners, if you're listening on Spotify, please comment, share your thoughts with us. If you liked this episode and want us to do more like this, tell us so we can include it in next year's program. And if you're on Apple, please leave us a review. We also want to know what's the first song that you listened to when the news came out. I would love to hear. With that, we will channel our inner Taylor. We will let things flow. We'll listen to our intuition, but we're also going to listen to you. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more, the resources we used to prepare for this episode are listed in the show notes.
If you're curious to develop your intuition, we've partnered with the Nuurvana Be Light program to give our listeners a $500 discount on tuition fees. Email us for more details and we'll connect you with the founder, Deganit Noor.
Want to connect with us? You can reach me, Christine, at Channeled by Christine with one L on Instagram.
And you can reach me, Renee, at _read by Renee, or connect with us both via email at synergytosynastry@gmail.com.
Keep your spirit curious and your aura sparkling.
We'll see you when the stars next align.